If you are experiencing foundation issues, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
It's a minute now after the hour, and writer and singer and entrepreneur Cabot Barden joins us this morning. Cabot, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Got a brand new book out.
Yeah.
Got a couple of book signings coming up.
Yep, sure do.
What about the new book?
Ganymede Rising is my first science fiction novel. All my other novels have been historical fiction, and but this is my first science fiction. It's a totally different direction for me. I've never written science fiction before. I got the idea, my brother and I sat down and hashed this thing out back in the 90s, my older brother. I have an uncle that works for NASA, and so he and I got talking about space travel and all this, and so we got the idea for this book.
How many is this one now? How many books is it now?
14. This is number 14.
Okay. Now, you said you had never written anything like this book.
Right.
Give us a little concept of what this book is about.
Well, the moon Ganymede orbits Jupiter now. In my book, it gets knocked out of its orbit and settles into an orbit on the opposite side of the sun from the Earth, in the same orbit as the Earth. And it's traveling at the same speed as Earth, so it won't run over the Earth. And since it's an ice moon, when it settles into that orbit, the ice melts and it becomes another second Earth. So the scientists here on Earth decide, oh, well, we'll go there instead of going to Mars. So they go to this planet instead, and but they find out that it's a hostile environment, complete with monsters.
How long did it take you to put this one together?
Well, the basic idea, it took David and I about 2 or 3 weeks to hash it out back in the 90s, but it took me to write it about 5 months.
All right. How many hours? You ever look at accumulated hours of what it takes to put something like this together?
Well, writing, usually I write late at night from about like 11 till about 2 or 3 in the morning, a lot of nights. So I'd say on average I spend about 3 or 4 nights a week writing. So there you go.
All right, you got 2 book signings coming up. Where are they going to be?
Thursday I'll be at the library in Talladega doing a book signing there at noon, doing the brown bag. And then the following Saturday I'll be at 2nd and Charles in Oxford, Alabama.
Now you've done quite a number of book signings in the last, prior to the 2 you got coming up in 2019.
Oh yeah, did quite a few there. And the calendar's filling up for this year too. Already. I've got at least 1 booking every month from now to the end of the year.
Cabot Barden, our guest this morning. He is a writer and singer and author, and this is the 14th book that he is, and this was just out. How can they get the book?
You can get it through Amazon.com, eKindle, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, or through me. And if you want an autographed copy, you can get it through me.
Okay. And I know we've talked about this before, but you're involved with several organizations. The book writers, the singing guild. Talk about some of those organizations and the talent and gifts that we have with local people.
Yeah, we have quite a few good writers here in Sylacauga alone. We have a writers guild here in Sylacauga that meets at the museum first Monday of every month at 6:30 p.m. Central Alabama Writers Guild and Alliance, CAGA for short. Then we have a Writers Guild in Talladega that we meet first Thursday of every month at 11 in the morning. And it's a very small group right now. We're open to new members, anybody that wants to come.
Are we ever too young or ever too not so young to think about writing?
Well, the youngest writer we've had come through with CAGA was some of the students at Sylacauga High. We had a writers' competition a couple of years ago, and I think the youngest writer we had was 14. So, you can start at any age writing.
Yeah. Cabot Barden, our guest this morning. Known Cabot a long time, and He does a fantastic job in his writings, and this is his 14th book, and this one is out. What's next?
Well, I'm working on a sequel to this one here. I don't have a name for it yet. I'm on like page 13, but the next one will be a little different from this one. It's still science fiction. And then I plan to work on the third in the Cherokee Kids series after I finish this one I'm working on now.
Wow.
So,
for those who may not know, how did you get your start?
I was inspired by a fellow named Clive Cussler. Met him in 1989 down in Mobile. Frank Lister and I had written a song which was inspired by Clive and his books, and presented it to him down there in Mobile. And I asked him at that point, I said, if I was going to write a book, what would I write about? He said, write what you know. So my first 3 books were about musicians, of course, because I've played in bands since I was 14. And so that got me started. And of course, Clive called me about this book. Called me up, he said, I heard you're going to use Numa or my character Dirk Pitt somehow in your book. I said, well, I thought about it. He said, well, don't. He said, you'll get in trouble with my attorneys. He said, I don't care, but they would. I said, okay, well, we changed our mind and decided we weren't going to do that anyway.
And there are guidelines that, you just can't throw a book together using any name you want to.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. Now, I use local people's names in my books when I get their permission. Like this one here, Stephanie Burton, she works in Talladega. She's one of the main characters. My daughter, Renee, is the main character in this book. She's a colonel in the Space Force. And, of course, Stephanie, she's a commander in the Space Force.
How many copies of this book do we have?
On me right now, I've got maybe 8 left. Sold out 4 first day I got them in. I've had to fix a little problem with a couple of the pictures in it, but I've got 20 more coming. They should be here between now and the 18th.
How mindful are you of the presentation of a book? How eye-opening is it to you to make sure every T is crossed and every I is dotted before you publish a book?
Well, Libby, my wife, does the editing for me because she's got a major in English. So she's very meticulous about that. So when I get through with it, I go back to it and edit it myself, and then I hand it over to her, and she goes through it and nitpicks and finds all the little mistakes I made in it.
She doesn't gouge you with them or anything, does she?
Oh, no.
Cabot Barden, our guest this morning, singer and songwriter, and of course, Cabot's been in this community a long, long time. Now, you were in Nashville for a while, right?
Yeah, I was up there 5 years. Worked with some of the best in the business up there while I was there. We worked at Opryland during the day, and then I worked in recording studios at night. I got up there about the time Lathan Hudson came back here. He moved out the year I moved up there.
So many people go to Nashville. Very few get that break that they need. And is it, I think you told me one time ago, maybe it was Lathan, that you got to connect yourself with the right people.
Yep, you sure do. That's what it's all about up there. It's who you know.
Yeah.
When I was working at Opryland, I saw all these kids come through. They were great musicians, great singers, and they thought, well, we'll be a star in 3 months. No, that's not the way it works. On the average, that overnight sensation takes about 15 years. So, unless your parents know somebody, and of course, like Leanne Rhymes, she walked into it, and there she was, 13 years old.
Wow.
Because her dad knew the right people.
Yeah. Cabot Barden, our guest this morning, got a brand new book out, and kind of capsule where we are with the book, Cabot.
Okay. This one here, number 14, I'm working on number 15, the sequel to this. You can get a copy through Amazon, eKindle, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, or through me. I'll be at the library in Talladega, and I'll be at the Second and Charles in Oxford Saturday doing that one. And I'll be in Bell Buckle with John T. Wayne again in March.
If you're watching this morning and you're in the bookstore business or something akin to that, and you'd like Cabot to come to your store with his books, how do they get in touch with you?
You can call me, 205-602-5982, or contact me on Facebook, or you can email me at cbard@hotmail.com.
All right, Cabot, thanks a lot for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Cabot Barden, our guest this morning on Daybreak Live. We've got more to do right after this.